So my name is Jenna Figuero, and I will be presenting today with Kelsey, and we're going to be talking about how to share your story. So very similar to what some of our other panelists have mentioned, as well as Jamie, that your application materials, your resume, your cover letter, how you are applying to opportunities is not just about your experience or your education. It's all in how you share your story regarding your experience, your education, and your skills. And so we're going to dive into that a little bit today through talking about strong formatting in these application materials, specifically your resume, how to highlight your education, these things called hot zones, what are they? Why are they important? We're also going to talk about accomplishment statements and how you really showcase not just a job responsibility, but what you've accomplished. And then we'll finish it out by talking about the power of those transferable skills, whether you're switching industries, trying to find a new opportunity, or just learning how to make your application materials more marketable and more reflective of the skills you do have. And then we'll talk about your objective and your summary. What is it? How do you write one? Should you have one? And all the questions like that. So I'll go ahead and pass it over to Kelsey to introduce herself.
Thank you, Jenna, and hi everyone. I'm Kelsey Carter, the Career Peer of Community Programming and Advising. I am a senior and will be graduating next Monday morning, which is very exciting, but also pretty terrifying. A few of the services that I personally provide include advising meetings, anywhere from career transitions to professional development, resume Dropbox, and events both in person and virtual, such as this one. The resources I offer will also be provided at the end of the event and in a follow-up email for you all to take advantage of.
Awesome, thank you, Kelsey. And like I mentioned, my name is Jenna Figuero. I'm a career and industry specialist with Career and Professional Development Services here at ASU. I work with all students and alumni, but I especially am focused on the business and public, social, and human service career interest communities, like Alexis just mentioned in the Mentor Network. So those are areas that I really focus in. I would like to point out as well, if you all have any questions during this presentation or any comments need clarification, please feel free to participate utilizing the chat feature. And with that being said, I will pass it back to Kelsey to talk about formatting.
Okay, so the first slide on formatting, page length, and organization. So the rule of thumb is that your resume should reflect 10 years of experience per page, and the average length of a resume is 1 page. So being that it's usually kept to this 1 page, if your resume is too long, it may be cumbersome to read. So begin by removing information that's not relevant to the job description, and that's if you are applying for a job. Here are a couple of things you can do to help maintain it to that 1 page. You can reduce spacing between your sections and positions using the more important information as per the job description, because employers take about 15 to 45 seconds on each resume on average. So if you want everything important to be visible in that time frame, by utilizing your space more efficiently. And if you're struggling, just pick the most relevant information that will fit on that 1 page. Your name should also be 16 to 20 point font size and bolded, hence why I bolded the name. Be sure to include your professional email and only 1 phone number. I would suggest adding your LinkedIn profile URL instead of a physical address, but it is also okay to keep your physical address as long as you write out everything, no abbreviations, make sure that it's exactly the address as you'd see. And just as far as the size font, we recommend going no smaller than 10 points, and the maximum is 12, and keeping your margins between 1 point and 0.5 all around. That way, again, everything fits on the page. So next, can you all post your graduation years and maybe majors in the chat so we can see maybe how many of you guys are in the same graduating class? And moving on to education, this is the format that we typically use. I would recommend bolding or underlining the degree so it stands out. When your employer, again, is scanning the resume, you'd want this to catch their eye. As far as international alumni, your working status and maybe references are optional. If you do choose to include your working status, it should be listed under your education section. So I see I have a couple of 2009s. I have 2015. There's a wide variety. And there's also a 1990, which is, I think this is so far has been the oldest graduating year I've seen. That's pretty interesting that all of the different years are tuning into this. You can also include under education, Dean's List, other academic awards, and even your study abroad experience. As far as related coursework, that's only necessary if it's outside of your degree program or if you wish to show specialized experience in a certain field. For example, if you took a special topic class or electives that are directly related to the position for which you're applying, then feel free to include those courses. And I would recommend anywhere between 1 and 6 courses. You don't want to go any more than that because it will take up a lot of space and it'll be a lot more to go over. So do you think the employer would rather see your education first or your work experience? Please post that in the chat as well, which will bring us to our next point, which is the hot zones. So the hot zone is the top third of your resume, and this is where employers are going to be looking at the most within those 15 to 45 seconds. So depending on what you're applying for and what you personally think is more relevant to that job, that's what you're going to want to have at that first third of your resume. So next, we'll be going to accomplishment statements. These are, excuse me, the bullet points that describe what you did, as well as how, why, and the result. I recommend using numbers to qualify and quantify your experiences. Each bullet point should be about a full line in length. If you have to go to the second line, I would recommend going at least halfway through that second line. And again, they should be about 3 to 5 bullet points. The results, which could be promotions, awards, or how you helped an organization and the people, are the most important part of your accomplishment statements. You also have transferable skills like communication, customer service, and attention to detail. Those should be conveyed in your accomplishment statements in relation to the tasks that you did. So an example of this, as you can see on the page, so communicated with approximately 100 customers. That's what you did. And daily by phone and in person, that's how you did it. And successfully ensuring customer satisfaction, that's the result. So can you guys post in the chat an example of maybe one of your accomplishment statements that you have on your resume in the chat box? And while I look them over, I'll pass it to Jenna to talk a little bit more about transferable skills.
Perfect. Thank you, Kelsey. So those transferable skills these are the 8 skills as decided by the National Association of Colleges and Employers, also known as NACE. So these are the competencies that employers, graduate schools, and professional schools are really looking for in the applicants that they hire and admit into their programs. And so you want to consider your skill set and how your skills are going to be transferable and applicable to the various positions or industries that you are looking at. So depending on what situation you are in currently, maybe you are looking to advance in your current position, maybe you're looking to switch industries completely or get back into the workforce. This is where we really think about those skills that you're drawing from your previous experiences, because these are going to be transferable. Things like problem solving and critical thinking, written and verbal communication, leadership, digital technology, career management, teamwork and collaboration, professionalism and work ethic, and then global and intercultural fluency. And so recognizing that you can be problem solving in one job, and even if you're switching industries, your ability to problem solve and think critically, that skill is coming with you, even if you're just applying it in a brand new space, in a brand new area. And so really reflecting on where are you strong in some of these competencies, maybe taking the time to write down 2 or 3 that you feel you're very skilled in, and then going back to your application materials, your resume, your cover letter, and making sure that you're highlighting your strengths, you're highlighting the transferability of those skills. And then maybe start to identify some areas of growth too, right? With these competencies, we've never really arrived or become experts in any one of these areas to some degree. So thinking about where do I have room to grow and how can I seek out opportunities that are going to allow me to grow in that area. I always joke digital technology is one I am always growing in, and I have grown in that competency exponentially in the past month or so. And so really starting to identify where are my strengths and how am I leveraging those to my benefit in my application materials. Moving on to the objective or summary, this is something that we are frequently asked about when it comes to application materials. Should you use one? Do you have to use one? Which one do you use? We really recommend that you use an objective statement or a summary statement if you're considering switching industries, or maybe you have experiences in a variety of industries. Or maybe you're trying something new. Maybe you've been out of the workforce for a while and you're trying to get your feet wet again, stepping back into the workforce. Objectives and summaries can be really helpful because they help to showcase very concisely why you are looking at a specific opportunity. So an objective is a concise, detailed statement showcasing specifically the position you're applying for, with who you are applying, and what skills that you hope to utilize. So this is supposed to be very targeted, very specific for the opportunity you're applying for. Avoid using general objective statements because they just fill up space on your resume. This is your opportunity to really be concise and specific, showing this is why I want this job and this is what I have to offer. A summary is similar, though typically it's 2 to 3 sentences, and a summary exists to highlight your professional experiences and your unique skills. A summary can be especially helpful if you do have a variety of experiences. Maybe it can be hard to kind of condense and narrow your focus to certain skills or certain experiences because you have so much and maybe they're in a variety of industries. So this allows you to really target your experiences and your skills as they relate to a specific opportunity. If I'm applying to work at a restaurant, my application materials are going to look very different than if I'm applying to work at a school or at a corporation, right? And so keep your audience in mind. Use the position description to inform what skills you should be highlighting, what experiences you should be highlighting, because that's going to look different for every application that you are applying for. So keep that in mind. And I would like to reiterate, I know Veronica mentioned this as well, but you all will have access to this information in a follow-up email. And so I will pass it back to Kelsey to discuss the sample resume.
Thank you. So something that I should have mentioned earlier also is looking at the tense of your accomplishment statements. So if it's your current position, you would use the present tense, and if it was a previous position, ensure that it's written in the past tense. So here's a great example of a sample resume. It's nice and clean regarding the formatting. It's very easy to read and to follow. The name and the degree are bolded so they kind of stand out a little bit more than everything else. Experiences are roughly 3 to 5 bullet points. Dates are all lined up on the right-hand margins, and there isn't an overload of information.